If we look back 10 years into the past, there were some Premier League players that were taking the league by storm. Luis Suarez, Sergio Aguero, Paul Konchesky. No, genuinely, there might not have been anyone more impressive than a young Belgian by the name of Eden Hazard. A diminutive dribbler, a player that the ball stuck to. He had his own gravitational pull, for God's sake. Probably because of his giant arm. But after a big money move to Real Madrid ended in absolute disaster, it's fair to ask the question, what exactly happened to Eden Hazard? Ladies and gentlemen, to start this story, we've got to go back in time. Karim and Thierry Hazard are both footballers over in Belgium, and they're about to, like, fall in love or some shit. They have 4 kids by the name of Eden, Thorgan, Killian, and Ethan. And look, listen, I'm no biologist, but footballer plus footballer equals footballer. Any kid of these two combined was gonna be a menace out on the pitch. Growing up in Braine-le-Comté, the Hazard brothers lived right next to multiple football pitches. Eden's childhood hero was Zinedine Zidane, who you can probably pull some similarities to in terms of their playing style and technique. Now, after spells at Belgian lower league sides during his childhood, he would then join French side Lille and enter into their academy. Now, this is a side that's won Ligue 1 on 4 separate occasions. Most recently in 2021, they've won the French Cup 6 times. They've even got European silverware in their trophy cabinet. It was a big move, a big step up, but Eden would flourish in France. He'd make his debut at the age of just 17 and become the club's youngest goal scorer in its entire history. He'd already impressed at an under-17s championship in Belgium and the Netherlands, so people were starting to know who he was. But he'd make them very, very aware, very early on, with 2 back-to-back Young Player of the Year awards for Ligue 1, still as a teenager, and only just missing out on Player of the Year to Lyon's Lisandro Lopez. But 2010-2011 was the year where everybody knew who Eden was. A league and cup double, something that Lille hadn't achieved since the 1940s, with Eden being instrumental in the win, being the youngest player to ever win Ligue 1's Player of the Year. And in his time at the French side, he would play 147 times and score 36 goals. He was the wonder kid of that time. Truly, he was already a star, and he'd make it 2 Player of the Year awards back-to-back in France, getting into the Team of the Year for Ligue 1 for a 3rd year in a row. In 2012, and a big money move would come. We all knew it was going to happen, and he signed for Chelsea for £32 million. Now, this was a very, very different Chelsea to the one of today. There was no Todd Bowley around to give out 15-year to life contracts. 12 was the year that he joined rather than the club's finishing position, and Frank Lampard was a player, not an underwhelming manager.
And a fluke goal, then another average goal.
Now, his first campaign was very impressive. 13 goals in all competitions as a youngster in a new league and a new country. Multiple assists as well, including in some massive wins, and a Europa League crown, though unfortunately he was injured for the final. It was a very positive campaign, but there was one major negative, as in a League Cup semi-final against Swansea, when a ball boy was trying to time waste by lying on the ball. Yes, that is right. He kicked a ball boy and was suspended by the FA. Obviously not something you should be doing, but great simulation from the ball boy, as he magically sparked back into life when the red card got dished out. But Eden would kick things back into overdrive. Probably not a great choice of words, actually. For the next 3 years, establishing himself as one of the best players in the league and in the world. Getting nominated for a Ballon d'Or, winning Chelsea's Player of the Year, being the Players' Player of the Year, winning a Carabao Cup and then a Premier League title. But then the 2015-2016 season comes around. Yep, that season. Chelsea, the club, and Eden Hazard were in complete turmoil. Chelsea were stinking up the gaff. Where have I heard that one before? Fans were protesting, turning on the players, Eden included, with banners appearing suggesting that he wasn't really trying at all. Eden even teased at the idea of moving to Paris Saint-Germain halfway through the campaign. And obviously, look, with interest in going to a big club like PSG, surely his record was great. His record until January was that he'd scored 0 goals. No goals all year. He was abysmal, and I'm sure he would agree as well. But if there's one thing you can always rely on during a bad time, it's that Tottenham probably have it worse.
What do we think of Tottenham? What do we think of shit?
as with an incredible story on the precipice of occurring in Leicester's title charge, Tottenham needed a result at Stamford Bridge against a struggling Chelsea side. In the end, emotion got the better of them, and in the Battle of the Bridge, Eden Hazard himself scored the goal to strike a dagger through Spurs' hearts and win the league for Leicester. If Chelsea fans had disliked him during the course of the season, seeing him score a goal that would stop their rivals winning their first Premier League title is definitely something to get him back in their good books. But either way, a return to form was needed. A reset, if you will. Alright, fuck it. Someone give me a ball boy to kick. 2016-17 was a polar opposite to the year that had just gone by. 16 goals in the league, an impressive Premier League title under Antonio Conte. The next season, 12 goals in the league. He'd win the 2018 FA Cup, scoring the only goal in the final against Man United. And with now over 100 goals in his league career, he'd go into his final season, 2018-19, already as a Chelsea club icon. He scored some disgusting goals in this season and grabbed one in the Europa League final to lift another European crown. On top of that, he'd make it into the FIFA Pro Best 11 for the year, be the fans player of the year, and win every single Chelsea accolade. The only player to ever do it in a season. Look, listen, sometimes in the past I've thought that Eden Hazard has been a little bit overrated by Chelsea fans, and there's still a part of me that does. Ultimately, his output, goal scoring and goal contributions weren't as high as some of his peers, but in terms of watching him play, undoubtedly he was one of the most exciting players the Premier League has seen. Genuinely, the guy was so beautiful to watch. You could put 4 Dons marking him and you still wouldn't get anywhere near him. There's no surprise he had a big impact in finals and big games. But after that Europa League final, he indicated that his time was up at Chelsea and that he needed a new challenge. To step forward, Real Madrid.
You go over to Italy to buy the shoes?
Yes.
Where?
Madrid.
In the summer of 2019, he'd become a Galactico for 100 million euros, which could have risen to 146 million euros, and he'd be on a massive 400 grand a week. This was one of the biggest deals in footballing history, only 1 million less than Real Madrid's transfer record of Gareth Bale a few years before. And he'd be linking up with his childhood hero, Zinedine Zidane, the then Real manager. And look, Zinedine was extremely impressed by him at first, I'm not gonna lie. Yo, I've got to stop this.
Can you see that behavior? What is happening?
The problem is, though, he would arrive at Real Madrid's training camp slightly out of shape. He was not fit for the start of the season, but would make his debut in September and actually got 4 goal contributions in his first 7 games for the club. The fitness might not have been there, but the goal contributions and performances were. But the problems would all start in November of 2019. When in the Champions League game, he'd end up with a foot injury that would keep him out for quite some time. It was the start of a downward spiral. He'd only play 16 games all year in La Liga after then getting another 2 injuries in the second half of the campaign. I'm pretty sure I even saw him in a Burger King advert during this time, which didn't help with the whole fitness. It would take him a full year since his first goal for the club for him to score his second in 2020-21. He scored 3 in 14 in that La Liga season after getting another 3 muscle injuries, coronavirus, and a public apology for being seen laughing and joking with his former teammates after Real were knocked out of the Champions League by Chelsea. Not a great look, I'll be honest with you, when your team's been embarrassed but you see Pedro crossing over in the car park, back in 6 celebratory tequilas for Chelsea going through, and you clock Diego Costa on the other side of the nightclub.
Hello.
Hang on, mate.
Fancy seeing you here.
It was a tough first 2 seasons, and it didn't make him a fan favourite whatsoever, especially with the big fee. But he started the 2021-22 season, now under Carlo Ancelotti, a little bit better. But there was one big problem for him.
Vamos pular a parte que eu peço aquele vinho do bom.
Vinicius Jr. was coming of age, and it turned out he was pretty decent at football. It then ended up relegated back to the bench with a string of no-show appearances. And then, after realising he not actually had an injury for 3 months, he came down with a chronic case of the physio room. He wouldn't get a single league goal, not a single Champions League goal, only got 1 in the cup. He was winning silverware though, 2 La Ligas to this point, and a Champions League victory against Liverpool, though he was an unused substitute for the final. And I'll be honest, these were hollow victories. Like, if he's getting a medal, then the dinner lady should be getting one. The ball boy should be getting one. Fucking give me that medal back. And honestly, the most recent season would be the worst yet. The 6 appearances with a combined 109 194 minutes, 1 Champions League goal, and an overall disaster. The two agreed to part ways through mutual consent when his contract was terminated just a couple of weeks ago. He left the Burnabout after 4 years, and the fall-off was complete. A man who'd won league titles, who had dragged Chelsea to European glory, who'd won every single accolade imaginable at the Blues, was nothing but a flop at Real Madrid. But why? I mean, look, there's the obvious excuses, which first of all start with injury. I mean, this guy could not stay fit for longer than 3 months at a time, and that never ends well. When I look at Liverpool, two of my most frustrating players over the last few years have been Thiago Alcantara and Naby Keita, because I know that the ability is there to be a genuine midfield game changer. When you can't string a run of like 9 games together without getting some sort of injury, you're never going to have any consistency. Eden was never going to learn the new system, the new way that he had to play in comparison to the Chelsea days. Imagine you started a new job somewhere, but then every month they said, actually, sorry, you're not coming into the office. You wouldn't gel with your fellow co-workers. You wouldn't truly understand what's going on. And that was always a massive problem for Eden. And obviously, you know, a lot of his play revolves around sort of explosive bursts of dribbling and stuff. When you're getting constantly injured all the time, and when you're lacking in confidence with a big fee over your head, kind of hard to just get that consistency together. Then, obviously, there was the fitness. He was actually playing with an injury anyway at one point. I mean, John Obi Mikel famously described him as the worst trainer that he's ever seen at a football club. He might be very, very capable of bringing out magic out on the pitch, but when it comes to off it, and he's just not trying or training as hard as he should be. But at a time where you're lacking confidence, lacking a little bit of fitness, if he didn't quite have that edge in training that some of the more hard-working players had, then he was never going to reach that level again like he was at Chelsea. I mentioned the system. It was very different to the way that he was playing at Chelsea, especially originally, where you've got Karim Benzema getting into his space quite a lot that he liked to operate in, not being able to receive the ball in between the lines like he could when he was at Chelsea. And all of those factors came together to, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, in my opinion, slyly make him one of the worst signings of all time. His career at Chelsea, undisputed, club icon, and for good reason. But 100 million euros to score probably about 3 or 4 league goals in total. They never reached more than 16 games in a La Liga campaign across 4 seasons.
Fucking hell, man.
That much money spent to then not recoup any of it at all at the end on 400 grand in wages a week. It has to be one of the worst signings of all time from Real's perspective. So where next for Eden? I mean, he's been linked to moves to Saudi Arabia, but he himself has said that he doesn't want to go where the money is necessarily, and has actually linked himself with a move back to his native Belgium, which maybe indicates the level that he thinks he's at this point in his career. I'm not saying the Belgian league is poor by any stretch of the imagination, but if he thought he was even slightly close to getting a substitute appearance at Real Madrid, he'd be aiming higher than going back to Belgium. Either way, whatever he does, I hope it is something that genuinely brings back that magical spark that he had. Whatever he does from here, at least he knows that he's a club legend at Chelsea. There might just be a slightly different response when you ask a Real Madrid fan for their perspective. But what do you make of Eden Hazard's career? Where did things start to go wrong at Real Madrid, and why did he fall off so drastically in your opinion? That though is going to wrap up today's video, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy this type of content, let me know who you want me to make a video on next. You can also follow me on social media though. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.